Hi folks, I'm Ashwin. I'm a PhD student at the University of Michigan School of Information, and I'm excited to talk about this work on strategies and designs to facilitate cross-partisan online discussions. This is joint work with Carolyn, Paul, and Ceren. Let's get started. The importance of cross-partisan interactions in a democracy cannot be overstated. It is to disagreements stemming from cross-partisan interactions that we're able to recognize others' perspectives, weigh alternate arguments, build mutual understanding, and form considered opinions. And so it is claimed that these discussions play a crucial role in creating a well-informed electorate. But let's be real. Given our current political climate, talking politics to someone who has opposing views, political views, whether it is someone you know or a complete stranger, whether it's online or offline, is an extremely hard task and is seldom done voluntarily. So when we imagine online discussions between Republicans and Democrats, we're not imagining a respectful deliberative discussion. Instead, we're seeing something like this: angry name calling, mudslinging, personal attacks, and shouting matches. These conversations between Republicans and Democrats have gotten harder in part because of the increase in affective polarization, a tendency of partisans to view opposing partisans negatively and co-partisans positively. This behavior is explained by social identity theory, which suggests that by simply categorizing individuals into Republicans and Democrats activates their group partisan identities, producing group-motivated behavior and attitudes of in-party favoritism and out-party animosity. Importantly, there are currently no social norms to temper out-party hostility. Unfortunately, it is perfectly acceptable to abuse an out-partisan in a political discussion. Thus, in this work, we aim to design to reduce the salience of partisan identities to foster cross-partisan interactions. The main research questions in this work that we answer are, given how hard these conversations can be, what do people look for in them? What strategies do they adopt to foster better interactions? And could these designs actually help foster better interactions? In this talk, I just focus on the second and third questions, and but you can get the details in the paper. So to answer these questions, we conducted 17 semi-structured interviews with Reddit users who actively participate in cross-partisan political discussions. We conducted these interviews just before the elections. And as you can see, we have a fairly diverse partisan pool, especially for Reddit, which is known to be young white male dominant. We spent an hour talking to them about their participation in these discussions and eliciting reactions to design probes. There are more details on the demographics, recruitment strategy, and analysis in the paper. So moving on to the design probes. So we build on cross-categorization and decategorization techniques from the intergroup conflict literature. Both techniques rely on providing more information about the user that they're talking to reduce the salience of partisan identities. The idea with cross-categorization is to make individuals of a group aware that they share membership in another dimension with individuals of the outgroup. On Reddit, this nicely translates to showing users shared non-political subreddit group memberships. With decategorization, the idea is to make individuals of a group aware of the distinctiveness of individual outgroup members so that they can be judged based on their personal merit rather than some stereotype. On Reddit, we show the distinctiveness of individual members by highlighting the other non-shared, non-political subreddits that they participate in and their top comments from those subreddits. We tell the participants that we would insert this user card when they click on the reply button to reply to the user. Before we dive into the reactions to the designs, let's understand the strategies that they currently adopt. So in the paper, we identify 9 different strategies, and they don't always work. Sometimes they even backfire. But there's one strategy that is most pertinent to our design. And that strategy is to actually avoid trying to know more about who they're talking to. participants seem to actively avoid looking at the user's profile information and their past behavior when talking to them. This gave us a bit of a pause because our designs do provide more information about who they're talking to. But also this strategy seems fairly counterintuitive, especially when you think about conflict resolution strategies that suggest that you should actually try to get to know the person a lot more, see where they're coming from to understand their viewpoints. But here what we see is that participants are worried that knowing more about who they're talking to could bias or prejudice them. As participant 6 says, I wouldn't want to know anything about the person, their race, I wouldn't want to know their gender, I wouldn't want to know shit. The other information becomes more so distracting or brings about expectations that will guide the conversation in a way that is not based on the substance of the argument itself. However, participants also recognize that knowing more about the users can be humanizing. So the same participant 6, also said this in the interview. It would be cool to know what kinds of stuff the other person's into, and just to maybe not put a face on it, but maybe, at least see some additional humanity behind what is otherwise a username and text. This suggests to us that there are some kinds of information that they would like to know, while there are other information that they definitely don't want to know. So what did they think about the kinds of information we show in our designs? With shared non-political subreddits, participants gave high marks. They could envision conversations where this could humanize the user, reduce partisan stereotypes, and build common ground. With active non-political subreddits, participants were concerned that activity in light of on subreddits could be used to discredit them. Participant 8 notes, I don't want it to be like, oh, this person's trying to describe to be economics, and they browse like, I don't know, just the JoJo subreddit all day. The other concern that they had was that this component revealed too much information. With comment highlights, participants felt that showing their full past comment text would make them more self-conscious and would alter the way they write or comment, and that they would have to actually make some throwaway accounts to get through past that. So women and minority participants especially felt that these make their profiles more public, inviting scrutiny and personal attacks. They quite like the existing design. As participant 18 says, I like the profile page as it is because I know that it's not necessarily that open and always accessible. And when people are touching on touchy topics and they are expressing themselves, they might want to keep some sort of anonymity. I feel like having things more presented in a way that shares more information could actually be a problem. So in summary, it seems like the current strategy appears to be to only focus on the comment, the text of the comment, and avoid looking at the profile information. But participants also seem to acknowledge that some information could be humanizing. What we find is that embedding the user card would alter how people engage in the discussion, centering both the text and the user information. So the shared subreddit information could be humanizing, but other information increased visibility and scrutiny of profiles and could be used to judge or attack. Although women and minority participants expressed frustration over Reddit's anonymity providing a safe harbor for trolls, they did appreciate how Reddit's design choices allowed them to express opinions without being targeted. So for these reasons, we did not build a Chrome extension based on the designs as we originally intended to. Instead, we came up with some design challenges, which I would love to discuss during the discussion section of the conference. So the main design challenges that we identified were, how can we de-stereotype and humanize users when revealing individual user information could actually backfire? Next, our design squarely focused on reducing partisan identity salience as a way to reduce partisan hostility. However, participants experienced hostility in very different ways, often mixed with racism and sexism. So how do we design to counter this? So given the low likelihood of success in intervening in individual discussions, is this even a good idea? Should we instead focus on improving broad conversational norms? I look forward to the discussion. Thank you.